Hey folks, this is Kalani. Back on 6.2, we're going to have a look at Marksman and how that's shaping up in the new patch. So, before that, we were going to look at survival, but the 4-piece doesn't seem to be working and doesn't deal any damage, so I mean that sounds reminiscent of the Beast Mastery video. If you didn't see that, the 4-set would summon a Fellbore when you use Focus Fire, and it wasn't doing any damage, so that kind of was the deciding factor, I would think, about how Beast Mastery will perform. And, well, they fixed it. So I'll show you exactly how well that is performing. It is kind of ridiculous. So we'll summon the Fellbore. We'll bring the pet back. Fellbore attacks. And it's kind of ludicrous. I mean, the Fellbore kind of does about 10 to 15k DPS on its own. Just completely on its own. And you're going to have that up 100% of the time. I don't understand how anyone else is supposed to compete with that, how the other specs are supposed to compete with that, especially where Beast Mastery is doing quite a decent amount of damage like on their own without that Fellbore, and that's just going to be there wailing on everything and everything all day long. So, I mean, that's cool, I guess. Obviously, only for single target. It's exactly the same as the 4-set as it is now. It's going to be a large single target increase, but multi-target, we may see Marksman take ahead. I don't know, we'll see. We'll have to see. But I think single target Beast Mastery is still going to, if not win, be doing a stupid amount of DPS. So that's Beast Mastery. We'll get into Marksman. As far as I'm aware, both of these sets are working fine. One is a little RNG based, so can't fully test that, but the other one does work swimmingly. So the set bonuses for Marksman: when you crit hit with Chimera Shot, you have a 40% chance to gain rapid fire for 4 seconds. Don't really see that increasing people's DPS a great deal, because first and foremost, the 4-set makes aim shot instant. That's what I was looking for. So your rapid fire isn't increasing the cast time of your aim shot, which doesn't necessarily make it less valuable, but, you know, the haste there is really only on your auto shot and any steady shots. So the haste isn't so great, but, oh, and I guess focus regen, but the rapid fire is obviously going to apply careful aim for those 4 seconds, meaning your aim shots are crit, 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 crit. But because it's RNG on RNG, 40% chance when you crit, so you first need to crit, which is dependent on your crit chance, then it's a 40% chance when you do crit. The chances of this happening, I feel, are actually pretty low. So the way to get the most out of that would be to pull focus or pull Thrill of the Hunt and wait for that to happen. But obviously if that never happens, that's going to be a stupid DPS loss. So I think that's just going to be a nice passive increase in damage whenever it procs, and I don't necessarily think you're going to be working around that. The 4-set, on the other hand, is just kind of free damage. You can throw off 3 aim shots in the time it would take you to cast a single one, type deal. Cool, although focus is still going to be a limiting factor, but that does mean that you shouldn't ever run out of shouldn't ever have Thrill of the Hunt procs unused. So that's cool, but the other thing that makes me wonder, because it's instant, does that mean that focusing shot is potentially worth considering? I mean, Lone Wolf increases the damage of every single ability we want more damage on, but focusing shot, you could focusing shot, aim shot, aim shot, focusing shot, aim shot, aim shot, depending on when you crit, depending on your Thrill of the Hunt procs. So I don't know, that's going to be interesting. But then, when do you get a barrage off? Is barrage going to be worth it, as opposed to an instant aim shot? It's a lot of questions up in the air. A lot of this is going to be simmed. It needs to be simmed, because it's all numbers. And, you know, I trust computers with numbers, because they tend to not make mistakes. But the last thing that I need to show you about what we're going to be playing with is this trinket. This is the class and spec specific trinket. This one's from Marksman. So your shots deal 0.33% increased damage per yard between you and the target. That ties in really nicely with our mastery. So we can run out to 46 yards, which is the max that my mastery will allow right now. Bear in mind, if you lose your mastery, so if we just move, you know, fights are going to have quite a bit of movement, but if you're at max range to get the most out of this trinket and you move and lose your mastery, you're going to have to move closer, which means you're going to get less damage from the trinket and less damage from your mastery. So anything where there's movement, the trinket becomes a little annoying to use, and Marksman is potentially not going to beat out the other ones. Because, I mean, if this trinket is the make or break between a spec being top DPS, then Marksman is going to get really, really hurt on any fight where they need to be close to a boss or where they need to move a lot. Which, you know, obviously isn't ideal. Now, this test is not going to be a decent representation of what Marksman can be. That's because I am not geared for Marksman, I am geared for Beast Mastery. I have Mastery and Multi-Strike and Haste gear. So that's one thing. The second thing is that this dummy is never going to go below the careful aim threshold, meaning that I'm going to have 60 plus 22 is 82% crit chance on my aim shots. So I'll show you that just here. So, oh, it's down to 50% from 60%, my bad. But increases the crit strike chance of your steady shot, focusing shot, and aim shot by 50% on targets who have 80% health or more. So that's like never going to be a case. They're always going to be above 80%, so my steady shots and aim shots are at 72% crit chance instead of, no they're not, we need to activate our Lone Wolf buff. So, 77% crit chance as opposed to 27 below that. So they're always going to crit, or there's going to be a stupid amount of crits where they shouldn't be. If Chimera Shot benefited from careful aim, that would actually be fantastic for the 2 set, but never mind. So just, you know, take this with a mountain of salt, because there's so many variables here. Doing this on a dummy, that wouldn't happen in an actual fight. Like, I'm not going to be moving, I'm going to be crits all over the place, yada yada yada. So, mountain of salt, mountain of salt. We'll probably go Agility Potion, Chimera, Stampede, Rapid Fire. Now, Rapid Fire is a little interesting here, because it's basically going to do very little. Because Careful Aim is always active. But I think that's one thing which is worth considering later on. The 2 set is going to give you Careful Aim for a little bit of that, meaning that your steady shots and aim shots are going to crit more often while that's up. But again, 4 seconds really isn't a great deal. It's kind of shocking to me that the difference between set bonuses for Beast Mastery and Marksman are quite vast. Like, Beast Mastery is all about increasing your damage, and Marksman is a little iffy at the best of times. I don't know. Whatever. We'll poke around. There should be about 50k, 60k DPS. Now, we've got Thrill of the Hunt, so that's also going to be an RNG factor on our DPS. Oh, there we go. Nice Thrill of the Hunt proc. But as I say, with Thrill of the Hunt up, you shouldn't really ever have excess charges. But remember to keep your Chimera Shot off cooldown. Pull your focus so you don't ever get to the point where a Chimera can't be used. I'm wondering what to do about Barrage, because with Careful Aim kind of being cheated, aim shot is going to be higher damage right now, but that's not necessarily going to be the case in an actual scenario. So we may, I think, we'd have probably got to 80% by now, so should we treat it as 80% and start barraging instead? But Thrill of the Hunt procs means we can't quite do that, but there we go. $50k. Again, I think that the set bonuses, while they're nice, instant aim shot is nice, but it just doesn't provide the same kind of bonus, I think. And this is with Careful Aim being up most of the time. I don't know, 50k DPS is obviously nice, but I'm kind of wondering. I definitely think that BM is going to be king on single target, from what we're looking at, and then anything with ads where Marksman can get kill shots off. That's another thing here. We're not going to get into kill shot range because it's not going to go below 35%. So that's another chunk of DPS which we can't really see on a dummy. But I think Marksman will take the cake where there's ads dying, potentially, so we can kill shot the ads. Anything where Chimera Shot can hit 2 targets is always going to be really OP. Yeah, but I think single target is definitely Beastmastery's cake this time around, and obviously again. So that's kind of all I can show you about Marksman. There is potential for changing things around with focusing shot instead of lone wolf. We'll have to test that. That's obviously going to be a numbers game, whether the pet can pull enough weight. I don't know if this is interesting. It was kind of interesting to me, but as a little aside, I was testing survival earlier when I found out that their false head doesn't work, and the pet was actually doing the most damage. It was doing more damage than explosive shot, which really doesn't seem to be a good thing. So that's kind of, I mean, that's either the pet is doing a lot of damage or everything else just really isn't pulling its weight. So survival kind of isn't shaping up to be too great, but either way, we'll look at that next. Hopefully by the time we look at it, the set bonus is fixed, so we can actually get a half-decent representation of what it's going to be like. But that is Marksman. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to get back to you. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always,